It may surprise you, but estimates suggest that more than 1 billion people are host to intestinal parasitic worms. That's a lot. But the vast majority of cases are mild, where the immune system is able to handle the worms quickly. However, in some instances, there are complications where the worms can cause conditions such as malnutrition, since they compete with the person's digestive system for food. In these instances, the person might experience developmental issues and at times, unfortunately, even death. The prevalence of such parasites is highest among children who are living in the poorest communities in low-income countries. They often get through contaminated water, soil, fellow humans, or through general inadequate sanitation or hygiene conditions. Diagnosing these parasites is expensive, but there are a few silver linings. Firstly, treating them is fairly cheap and is estimated at less than $1 to clear a person from worms. Secondly, the treatment was studied and we are unaware of any major side effects. Lastly, to the best of our knowledge, worms are not developing resistance to the treatment. These characteristics lead to an intervention called mass deworming. In such operations, everyone in infected areas is treated preventatively, whether they have worms or not. Recall, it is much cheaper to treat than to diagnose. For example, all children are assembled in school and get treatment, similar to how vaccines are provided in many areas around the world. To be accurate, it is important to mention that there are different types of parasites and different treatment options, but for simplicity, we'll treat them all as deworming. We'll add some links in case you want to deep dive further. Okay, so how effective is this? There are a few immediate direct effects. There is strong evidence that in the immediate term, the treatment leads to fewer worms in the gut of the recipient. Also, there is weaker, but still reliable evidence that the treatment can prevent some of the acute cases and leads to very mild improvements in the general health of patients, such as improvements in the development indicators of children, greater height, weight, hemoglobin, etc. Deworming also seems to increase school attendance, though, at least in the short term, we don't see a major increase in school tests. Running these operations in places like schools is non-trivial. One needs to run explanation campaigns to parents, train the administrating staff, and treat a lot of people, since, as mentioned, this intervention is most effective at scale. That implies a high logistical burden. If the effects we've mentioned would be all that the intervention has to offer, I might not have told you about deworming. Because even though it offers alleviation from the conditions that parasites cause, and in some cases even prevents death, it is not close to the cost-effectiveness of similar interventions we've learned so far, such as the fight against malaria. Where things get really interesting and uncertain is when we start discussing the longer-term effects of deworming. In a study on deworming that was done in Kenya, the results were followed up on several times in the years after the study, comparing people that got the treatment and the control. After 10 years, people who received the treatment earned 20% more than those who didn't, and the study also found a 10% increase in food consumption, which is a proxy for living standards in extremely poor environments. The 15-year results are broadly consistent with the 10-year results. An intervention having an effect that lasts for over a decade is incredibly rare. The effects of most interventions, even the highly effective ones, tend to wane off in a few months. It's not the only surprising thing. Other studies have shown that younger siblings and the neighbors of those that received the treatment also benefited relative to siblings and neighbors of the control group. Even the children of those that were treated can be shown to be better off in a statistically significant way. All of these potential effects are for an intervention that cost way less than $1 per person. That's pretty big. How could deworming be doing this? We don't know for sure. Maybe the fact that children who received the treatment missed fewer school days was influential and just wasn't picked up in tests. Or maybe deworming helped prevent problems in child development more than we initially were able to understand. Though, there is an important issue that might lower our enthusiasm here. Many of the long-term results are based on a single experiment. To the best of our knowledge, there is no glaring mistakes in that experiment. But if something went wrong that we were unaware of, the results could be highly misleading. And since this is a long-term study, replication takes a long time, which leaves us in a state of uncertainty, at least for now. Waiting until further studies are completed potentially means that a whole generation that could do better will not get a chance. So we face a huge dilemma. If we want to help now, how much credit should we give to deworming?